I don't have a lot of space, but I want to set up my worm farm, my commercial worm farm once again. And I'm also going to be setting up an indoor garden that I can grow year round. So what can I do if I don't have a lot of space? This has been the question that has been on my mind for quite some time. I've toyed with many different ideas as to how I can go about to utilize the space to get the best result. And so I have finally come up with how I'm going to do this. So I sell worms and I sell worm castings, and I want to be able to grow most of the fruits and vegetables, well, the vegetables that we eat, as much as I can grow. So this is what I've decided to do to maximize the space. One, you know that I believe strongly in growing vertically, especially when you don't have a lot of space. And even if you have a lot of space, growing vertically allow you to grow more. The same is true about raising worms for marketing. You need space, but then when you don't have a lot, what can you do? There are various types of worm bin setup that you can use, and some are more feasible than others. Each of them has their pros and their cons. And a lot of people, when they don't have space, they go vertical and they do a tray system, or they use a combination of system where they might use a CFT or large bins along with their trays. So here I have built a bed that is 30 feet wide and 8 feet long, and I'm going to have three of these. One is going to be for my red wigglers, one is going to be for my African night crawlers, and the other for my European night crawlers. Now, if I can get my hands on some Canadian night crawlers, which is difficult in this region, then I will have a fourth bed, but it will be much smaller because Canadian night crawlers do not grow fast and they do not reproduce fast. And they are more challenging to maintain because they like cool conditions, which means that the basement will be ideal for them, this unfinished side of the basement. But I'm going to have in here heated. Now, if you notice right here, I raised the bed off the floor 18 inches. And the reason I raise it 18 inches is because the containers that I'm storing my castings in is 15 inches. So I want to have a bit of clearance to get things underneath there. So it is 18 inches off the ground. Next, you will notice that I have these long posts on the ends of the bed, and this is to facilitate the breeder bins that is going to be above this worm bin. So one, you have to allow clearance. If you're going to be putting bin above this, you have to allow head space where you can work freely without bumping your head into the trays above. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have trays up high, so maybe 2 tiers or 3 up high. And then for those, I'm not going to be working from this side because all of this is going, this side of the bin is going to be screened off. So I'm creating what looks like that little greenhouse that I have down there. So everything is going to be enclosed to trap the heat, make sure that it is nice and warm in here for both the plants and the worms. So this side is actually where this wormery greenhouse will end and go over to that wall over there. So now what I'm going to be doing is I've lined the inside of this because, as you know, I don't want to set up any permanent structures. So for now, I'm just using the simplest form to build these raised beds, or should I say worm bins. And then after this, I am going to be filling this with cardboards, unshredded cardboards in the bottom. Then I'm going to have a lot of shredded cardboard about 6 inches high. So this worm bin is 12 inches in depth. So I'm going to fill this with cardboard that I'm in the process of shredding now and raise it 6 inches. Then I'm going to add my worms, and one of the advantages of this bed is even if you have a small amount of worms, you can have a lot of food in here. Now, you have to be careful if you're going to be doing that though, because you don't want your food to start getting moldy. And if you're going to be putting a lot of food scraps in here, you have to keep in mind that it may overheat. But if you're in an area that is cool or cold in the winter, if your basement is cold in the winter, then a setup like this is nice because you can add a lot of food scraps that is going to help to keep the bin warm. So here, when I mentioned that I'm going to have a lot of food in here, I'm still going to control how much I put in here. But when I just started worm farming, I had compost bins that were outside made from pallets, full-size pallets. And that's where I put my worms, in my compost bin. And my compost bins were like 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, 4 feet long. So it was full of food scraps, and in 2.5 months, 1 pound of worm processed everything that was in that bin, plus they multiplied 20 times the amount that I had. So from 1 pound of worms, in 2.5 months, I had 20 pounds of worms. So I believe that one of the reasons why I had such a perfect rate of multiplication is because the worms realized that they had a lot of space. They realized that they had a lot of food. They were getting sufficient air because the bin was outside and it's made from pallets, so it has good airflow. And when it rains, it gets watered, and I would keep the bin as moist as it should be. So they had the perfect condition. The temperature was perfect because that was in the summer. So they just multiplied like crazy. So the whole idea why I'm putting in a lot of food is because this bin provides a lot of space for them, and it is going to be covered with a screen cover that I have to make. So then it will have good airflow and the worms will have a lot of space. So the hope is that realizing that they have a lot of space, they will go and multiply even faster. Now, if you have a big bin but you only have small quantity of food in there, whether it is bedding or food scraps, if you only have a small quantity of material that they can eat, no matter how big your bin is, they're not going to multiply as fast. So you want to ensure that they have a lot of space so that they can go on multiplying quickly. Also, when the worms have a lot of space, they tend to be bigger in size than when they're confined to small containers. So that is the plan for this. I'm going to be keeping you updated on the progress of this worm bin. So let me give you a walkthrough of the layout that I'm going to be using here. As you can see, I'm in the process of collecting cardboard, and you can see the building materials, the lumbers down behind the chair there. So don't mind the mess, it is under construction. So I'm going to allow 30 inches between this bed and the next worm bin that is going to go here. And then I'm going to have over there another little walkway that's going to be 2 feet, which leaves me with 1 foot over here. So everything on this wall, in this corner, I'm going to have my table where I process my worm castings and whatever I need to do in here. And then the rest of the wall going all the way down there, is going to be where I grow my cool weather crop. So the second worm bin is going to go here, and then down here where this greenhouse is, the third worm bin is going to go here. And then right here, instead of a worm bin, this middle aisle is going to be where I'm going to have my warm weather crops. So my peppers, my tomatoes, my callaloo, my squash, you name it, they're going to be in the center here, and over here is the cool weather crop. So this entire wall is going to be cool weather crops. So that is the project that I am working on. This is going to be taken down. Yes, so stay tuned if you want to see what the result will be for this layout, this greenhouse wormer that I am setting up. So if you enjoy this video, or if you are in the process of starting a greenhouse indoors, or if you're setting up a commercial worm farm indoors and you'd like some ideas, you can follow along because I will be sharing a lot of tips. If you know of others who are interested in setting up an indoor greenhouse or setting up a commercial worm farm indoors and need practical information, then please share my videos with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Yeah man, time for grow.